Welcome to this lecture about Muhammad and the origin of Islam. Our topic today is based on my book Ask Your Muslim Friend, and it is found under the main heading number 1, Islamic Teaching, and the subheading 1.1, The History of Islam, and you may find it on pages 20 to 24. The question we are going to discuss now are as follows. What do we know about the life of Muhammad, his birth, childhood, marriage, and so on? What is the difference between his life in Mecca to Medina? Did Muhammad really plan to establish a new religion? What do we know about his later years and death? Millions of Muslims worldwide honor and adhere to Muhammad, and whom they look at him as their highest prophet. They see him as the greatest man ever lived, who brought the truth and the right way to paradise. The question we may consider is, what did Muhammad really say and teach? Or is perhaps much of what Muslims believe today not the teaching of Muhammad, but rather some wishful thinking of people? In my encounters with Muslims, I have heard many stories which I had to classify as fiction. Often, when I asked my Muslim friend to give proof and show me the reference, they could not point me to a verse in the Quran or the Hadith. Usually, they believe these made-up stories since they have heard them from their parents, grandparents, or some learned man from the mosque. Let me give you some examples of story which people have told me. Whenever sick people touched Muhammad, they were immediately healed. Muhammad promised to all people who can recite the whole Quran that they can choose 10 people to take with them to paradise. Or Muhammad was the perfect example of treating all people equal, man and woman, including all races. Muhammad is the greatest example, combining all the virtues in one person. These are just a few of the many fantastic stories Muslims have told me. I've got the impression that Muslims make a great effort to lift up Muhammad and to make him greater than he actually was. Why are Muslims doing this? Why do they tell stories about Muhammad and what he was supposed to have done, which in actual fact he himself never did or claimed? When I as a Christian think about Jesus, then I realize that we do not have to artificially lift him up Jesus and make him greater, since he is already the highest and has all power. The problem is that many people do not realize and accept the greatness of Jesus. It is the aspiration and duty of all Muslims to imitate the life of their honored prophet as much as possible. Muslims have enthusiastically told me how they imitate Muhammad's lifestyle, this to get some benefits, such as that Muhammad is pleased and will intervene for that person to get an easier entry into paradise, or that Allah will be pleased and perhaps let that person into paradise on the Day of Judgment. One famous story is that Muslims clean their teeth with the same kind of wood that Muhammad cleaned his teeth. Muslims claim that usually after Muhammad had eaten, he climbed on a certain tree in Mecca and took each time a small piece to clean his teeth. Today Muslims believe they know the kind of tree, and if they clean their teeth with the same wood, then Muhammad is pleased and will say a good word on their behalf to Allah for better interests to paradise or the day of judgment. Muhammad was born in 570 after Christ. From all the sources available today, we have little positive proof about what really happened concerning his childhood, marriage lives, and later his death. I'd like to highlight and briefly explain 4 important periods in Muhammad's life. First, his birth happened to be in the same year as the year of the elephant, in 570 AD. His apparent special experience in the cave near Mecca, in 610 AD. Thirdly, his remarkable move from Mecca to Medina in 622 AD. And the 4th point, his mysterious death, which happened in 632 AD. We already spoke about Muhammad's birth. At the age of 25, he married Khadija, who was then 40. It appears to have been a happy marriage. Later, when Muhammad was about 40 years old, something special must have happened in his life. During this time, he used to meditate in a cave near the city of Mecca. In one of these meditations, it is said that Muhammad had a unique but frightful experience where basically 3 things happened. First, a remarkable light appeared in the cave. Second, a strong force holds his body and pressed him. Thirdly, a strange voice told him that he should recite, in Arabic called Iqra. But Muhammad was unsure what to recite and asked 3 times about it. At the end of all 3 happenings, the special appearance stopped. Muhammad was frightened and ran home to his wife to be comforted. Muhammad first believed that he had been visited by evil spirits, or perhaps the devil himself. But Khadija and other friends told him that this might be a message from the highest deity, and that he was commissioned to be a special person. Thus, it appears that the original initiative to establish a new religion comes from Khadija and not Muhammad. What do you think about these happenings? At what point does your Muslim friend disagree with these stories? How does your Muslim friend interpret these events? Muhammad started to preach in Mecca, but he had only a few followers. The main points of his preaching were: first, there is only one God, Allah, and people should only submit to Him. Secondly, Muhammad is the messenger and people should accept him as a leader. Thirdly, if people do not follow his message, they will end up in hell. Most of the inhabitants of Mecca did not approve or like his message. As a result, they started to threaten and persecute Muhammad. After the death of his wife and uncle, Muhammad's situation became even more difficult and the persecution became heavier. He looked for another city to go to, and in the end, the people of Medina invited Muhammad to come to their city and be the leader and be safe there. It is told that Muhammad fled with his best friend Abu Bakr in secrecy on a certain night. They managed to leave Mecca, but they were followed by their enemies. Muhammad and Abu Bakr found a cave and were hiding inside. Through the guidance of Allah, a big spider built a web at the cave entrance. As the hunters came and saw the web, they assumed that Muhammad was not in this cave. They did therefore not go into this particular cave, but went on. Thus, Muhammad and Abu Bakr were saved and continued their journey later and arrived safely in Medina. The question we may discuss: is this story authentic or a fabrication? What is your Muslim friend's view? Can he point to references to give proof? By the way, there is a similar Jewish story from the Talmud, which says that when David was hiding in the cave, we read this in the Old Testament in 1 Samuel chapters 23 to 24. In this story, God also used a spider to spin its web over the cave's opening. In this case, the king Saul would not find David and could not kill him. Perhaps Muslims have adapted this story to the flight of Muhammad. This move from Mecca to Medina changed his role and position considerably. He was no longer a simple preacher as in Mecca, but he was now the political leader of the city and the spiritual head. In the book Ask Your Muslim Friend, on page 23, you find a table where the change of his role is outlined. You may discuss the following questions. What is your view of these changes? How does your Muslim friend interpret these changes in Muhammad? He soon, by the way, started forming an army to defend and extend his territory. Does your Muslim friend agree with this? Muhammad with his army also raided caravans and killed people. What do you think about this? What is the role of the Jews and the Christians during this period? You may also discuss how Jews and Christians were treated, being the subjects, which they call it dhimmi. If we compare these happenings to the life and ministry of Jesus, what difference is notable? Muhammad built up his position in Medina, and about 630 AD, he had an army of about 10,000 warriors. During that time, his relationship with the people of Mecca worsened, and he decided to march to Mecca with his army. He planned to attack and subdue the city. In the face of this superior force, the people of Mecca submitted without resistance and became followers of Muhammad and his teaching. Muhammad agreed with them that if they submit to him and his religion, he would guarantee that Mecca would remain the central place of worship till the end of time. Thus, he made sure that Muslims would continue to perform their pilgrimage to Mecca, and in addition, the income of the people of Mecca, which was generated through the visits of the pilgrims in Mecca, was secured. It is significant to note that it is reported that Muhammad destroyed the idols and images of the Kaaba. During the following period, Muhammad's position became stronger, leading to more wars and conquest into new areas of the Byzantine and Persian empires. The following questions can be discussed. Why was it necessary that Muhammad formed such a big army? What do you think about the treaty which Muhammad made with the people of Mecca? Muhammad was the leader of a huge army that conquered land and killed people. What do you think about this? And another point, compared to Jesus as a leader, why did, for instance, Jesus not form a worldly army for his purpose? Muhammad died at about the age of 63. He did not appoint a successor, which was a big problem since it caused many disagreements and eventually resulted in the split of the Muslim community. His death was a great shock for his followers, and it is unclear what the cause was. The following possibilities have been suggested by Muslim scholars, and you may discuss this with your Muslim friend. The possibilities are he died because of illness, or he was critically wounded in battle, or he was poisoned by his enemies, or a combination of the above possibilities. There are more interesting facts in my book, Ask Your Muslim Friend. You can download it from our website. Please subscribe to our lectures and acquire our literature. If you have any questions or would like me to do a lecture on a certain topic, write them in the comment section. See you soon again. Good day and God bless you.